or grandparent, aunt, uncle, friend, a kid, I bet you care a lot about this next generation. I think about them often because I've been doing environmental work for more than 20 years, and the more I know, the more concerned I am about the world this next generation of humans and other species is going to inherit.
Don't get me wrong, this is an exceptional world with all the perfect conditions for life to flourish, as it has for 3.5 billion years. But here's what keeps me up at night. Over the past 150 years, human activity has created an unnatural buildup of greenhouse gases, throwing our perfect conditions way out of whack.
The longer we take to create solutions, the more challenging and costly it will be for future generations.
As we look at solving this crisis, we look here because we know we're burning too many fossil fuels to create energy to heat, cool, and power our homes and buildings. And in the process, we're emitting carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas. And we look here because we know we burn too many fossil fuels to transport ourselves around, emitting more CO2. But we're missing one critical piece of the climate solution. We also need to be looking here and here, because we also burn a lot of fossil fuels and create greenhouse gases every time we extract, produce, consume, and dispose of our stuff.
All our stuff has a carbon footprint. The screen you're watching this on, the chair you're sitting in, the clothes you're wearing, the food you had for breakfast, your toothbrush, car, cell phone, bottles, boxes, bags, you name it.
More than 40% of our climate impact in the US comes from our stuff and our food. It's called consumption emissions. The more we buy stuff and keep throwing it away, the more energy it takes to make new stuff and the faster climate change accelerates.
If we're not looking at all the sources of our emissions, we're not looking at all the solutions either. That's why when we think about our climate crisis, we need to be looking at a three-part solution: smokestacks, tailpipes, and trash cans. Leading climate experts are warning that what we do in the next few years will determine the future. If we fail to take action now to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, we will have failed future generations and their chance to live peacefully and sustainably in years to come.
Well, the good news is, and there is good news, there's something you and I and our communities could choose to do today to change the course on climate. Enter zero waste.
The solutions are so simple and impacting, future generations may wonder why we didn't start doing them a little sooner. So here are 4 easy things we can do now. If everyone on the planet used resources the way we do in the US, we'd need 5 planets to keep up. We can reduce our resource use to be within the planet's limits and reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by redesigning packaging and products to use fewer resources more efficiently. And we can reduce use in our lifestyles by rethinking what we really need to meet our material needs, ditching disposables altogether, choosing reusables, repairing broken products, and sharing products instead of each of us owning. After we've reduced our use of resources, we need to get back to the basics and recycle, not just bottles and cans, but items like carpet, electronics, clothing, and concrete too. Recycling's been called one of the best kept secrets in climate change because it saves so much energy and reduces CO2 emissions. But Americans still only recycle 1/3 of their waste. If we make recycling a way of life with a recycling bin in every home, business, and school,
And if everyone does their part.
Sorry about that. Oh, brother.
we burn a lot of fossil fuels and create greenhouse gases every time we extract, produce, consume, and dispose of our stuff.
All our stuff has a carbon footprint. The screen you're watching this on, the chair you're sitting in, the clothes you're wearing, the food you had for breakfast, your toothbrush, car, cell phone, bottles, boxes, bags, you name it.
More than 40% of our climate impact in the US comes from our stuff and our food. It's called consumption emissions. The more we buy stuff and keep throwing it away, the more energy it takes to make new stuff and the faster climate change accelerates.
If we're not looking at all the sources of our emissions, we're not looking at all the solutions either. That's why when we think about our climate crisis, we need to be looking at a three-part solution: smokestacks, tailpipes, and trash cans. Leading climate experts are warning that what we do in the next few years will determine the future. If we fail to take action now to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, we will have failed future generations and their chance to live peacefully and sustainably in years to come.
Well, the good news is, and there is good news, there's something you and I and our communities could choose to do today to change the course on climate. Enter zero waste.
The solutions are so simple and impacting, future generations may wonder why we didn't start doing them a little sooner. So here are 4 easy things we can do now. If everyone on the planet used resources the way we do in the US, we'd need 5 planets to keep up. We can reduce our resource use to be within the planet's limits and reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by redesigning packaging and products to use fewer resources more efficiently. And we can reduce use in our lifestyles by rethinking what we really need to meet our material needs, ditching disposables altogether, choosing reusables, repairing broken products, and sharing products instead of each of us owning. After we've reduced our use of resources, we need to get back to the basics and recycle, not just bottles and cans, but items like carpet, electronics, clothing, and concrete too. Recycling's been called one of the best kept secrets in climate change because it saves so much energy and reduces CO2 emissions. But Americans still only recycle 1/3 of their waste. If we make recycling a way of life with a recycling bin in every home, business, and school,
And if everyone does their part, we can take a bite out of CO2 emissions.
it's that simple and it's that important. Fully half of what we throw away is made up of biodegradable materials, including grass clippings, leaves, paper products, and food scraps. When buried in a landfill, those materials don't just break down the way they would in nature. They decompose anaerobically, without oxygen, and that generates methane. Methane isn't just a greenhouse gas, it's a climate powerhouse. It traps 84 times more heat in our atmosphere than carbon dioxide over the short term. That can really heat up the planet, and fast.
So instead of putting biodegradable materials here, we need to put them here, or here, in curbside or backyard composting bins.
If we do that, methane emissions coming from landfills are stopped cold. Instead of feeding our landfills with food waste and other biodegradable materials, let's feed our soils, which are desperate for nutrients. Soil can actually help pull carbon down out of the atmosphere. We all know planting trees can help absorb CO2 emissions, but healthy soil stores 3 times more carbon than trees, plants, or the atmosphere. Let's put compost back in the soil to help stabilize the climate. It's not just up to each of us to change. We need to change the systems around us and invest in infrastructure like recycling and composting plants instead of landfills and incinerators, and create policies that support their use. So what do we get for investing in zero waste? All told, we can reduce our climate impact the equivalent of shutting down 20% of our US coal plants.
And we can do it immediately and inexpensively. Adopting zero waste practices is one of the least expensive solutions we can begin to make progress on right away.
So that's our choice. We can either perpetuate the problem or prevent the problem and help reverse it. Not.
All right. Thank you. So I hope everybody got some good information out of that. And what's going to help us even more now is I'm going to briefly turn the screen over to Siobhan, and she's going to give us a fun hour of tips. If you haven't seen Siobhan McComb before, she's a zero waste consultant and sustainability educator. She owns the blog One Glass Jar and has recently added some really good resources on there, so take a look at that. She's began her zero waste lifestyle journey more than 20 years ago, and she enjoys teaching zero waste lifestyle classes around the Pacific Northwest, sharing successful strategies with others around the world via her blog, and also has traveled the globe and lived all over the US. She recently moved from Bothell and now has her own homestead on Vashon Island with her family of 4. And so, Siobhan, we're so glad to have you here and looking forward to your presentation here. Let me I apologize everyone for the technology difficulties I'm having right now. I hope you're still here. My goodness. Hi. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and let Siobhan take over here, and hopefully I can fix these glitches that keep happening to me. Okay. Siobhan, are you there?
I'm here.
Thank you.
Can everybody see me? I hope so. If not, you can hear me. Hi, I'm Siobhan McComb, and I am a zero waste lifestyle consultant and sustainability educator. I'm based here in King County, Washington State. I live on Vashon Island, recently moved from Bothell. Like Heather was saying, I actually want to thank the city of Shoreline and WSU for having me be a part of this series, Climate Champions series. I really appreciate being included, and I hope you find some information that's helpful. That video was helpful for me. So I've been doing this a long time, so even something like that is helpful, even for me. So anyway, like Heather was saying, I'm a family of 4, including myself. I have 2 children that are teenagers, and I've been doing zero waste lifestyle classes going on almost 9 years now in the Puget Sound area. And I'm excited to continue letting people know about what I'm doing and how I've made zero waste a lifestyle part of how well, it's my lifestyle. It's how I live. So I want to get into the meat of it here. But there are I just posted today something people have been asking for a while. And I posted on my blog at oneglassjar.com a list of resources that will help guide you. When I go through the products behind me, I'm going to do kind of a sales, it's not a sales pitch, but I'm going to hold things up. I'm going to talk about them. But on my blog, I have a list of resources that has one-stop shopping, places that you can go and find the majority of the items that are on my list. And I have a list. It's called Where Do You Find It? It's the first page on my blog as today, and I have kitchen supplies, cleaning, office, art supplies, bathroom, miscellaneous, things like that. So you can go along here, and about 99% of the stuff is on my blog, and it'll help you find the things that you need so you don't have to madly be taking notes. So like we just saw in the video, zero waste is about reducing what you bring into your home. It's about reducing basically buying new things. My list on my website is where you can buy things new. One of the things that we really talk about in zero waste lifestyle is not consuming new unless you absolutely have to. So I recommend thrift store shopping. I recommend buy nothing groups on Facebook. I recommend garage sales. The stuff is usually already out there. Somebody's already purchased it. It doesn't have all the packaging anymore, and you're keeping stuff out of the landfills. If you shop those ways, because eventually if things aren't purchased at thrift stores, they go into the landfill. And if you need that all metal spatula to replace your plastic one, then that is melted and gross and you don't want it anymore and it doesn't flip an egg to save your life, then you're keeping that all metal spatula out of the landfill. And so you're reusing, and that metal spatula will last you eons. So you'll have to drive over it with a car in order for it not to flip an egg anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through, you'll see behind me, I have some stuff, and we're going to walk through rooms in the house. So I've got the kitchen, the bathroom, which is, it's also personal grooming. Then I have the office, which is some of the choices you can make for office supplies. Then I have cleaning, and then I have kids supplies and a little bit more kind of school supplies, things to look at if you have kids, because a lot of us do. And even some of the things you might need, even if you don't have kids anymore, you don't have kids at all, some of these things can be really helpful as far as resources. And then we will be going over some miscellaneous things about how to look for lifetime warranties, buying new, and some of the people out there that have organizations that do good, and you can buy something and it does something good on the other end after with the money that you've spent. But first off, I'm going to put my lovely glasses on, fabulousness. So this is a little plug for me. So I have an Instagram, and it's One Glass Jar, and I have a Facebook page, it's One Glass Jar, and I usually have posted on there events that are coming up. And then my blog is oneglassjar.com. So please check them out. I'm always posting, new and interesting things to help you, kind of figure this puzzle out of zero waste. So there we go. Fabulousness. So I want to go over a couple things. There's a great book. It's called Zero Waste Home. It's by a woman named Bea Johnson. This is a great book that has resources and things that you can look at as far as recipes and ways to get things, ways to find things. It talks about your wardrobe, dog waste, toys, how to make, a refillable olive votive. So this is a great book. Highly recommend. Bea Johnson. Fabulous book. This woman, Bea Johnson, has 2 kids. She produces 1 quart size, this much trash with 2 kids. Okay, in a year. This isn't a month. This is in a year. She produces this much trash. I'm not at that level. We produce about a paper grocery bag of trash pre-COVID. COVID is kind of throwing a monkey wrench into a lot of this. We produced one of those about every 5 weeks. Now we're down to producing one of those every 2 weeks. So that's a paper grocery bag. I'm going to get that right pretty soon here. Great book. Highly recommend it. So one of the tenets of zero waste are these 2 triangles. So you have the 5 R's, which is refuse the things that come into your home, reduce what comes into your home, reuse before you go buy new, recycle it, and if it can't do any of the things, and the final thing is rot, if it can't do any of those, then the likelihood of it coming into your house should be very minimal, because what can't rot has to go in the trash. When you do need to get something to bring into your home, so you use what you have, you can maybe borrow, you can swap with somebody, you can thrift it. I love that one because thrifting is lots of fun. You can make it, and the red zone is to buy it. And buying it is usually means buying it new. So I try to stay out of this zone as much as possible because of the things I said in the video with the amount of resources that are used. You're talking about transportation, you're talking about new resources taken out of the earth, taken off the planet, displaced animals, and then you've got emissions, and then there's so many layers to it. I could talk about it for the next 20 minutes, but I won't because I want to get to this stuff. So most of you live in a municipality, and this was from my old municipality in Bothell, and I had the pleasure of having Recology as my garbage company. Not everybody has that. But I highly recommend whoever your trash collecting system that comes to your house and does your garbage pickup, get to know what you can and cannot do. What can you stick in your recycling bin? What can you put in your garbage bin? What can you put in your yard waste bin? And what can you put in the recycling bin? And what is hazardous material that can't go in? Do they have special collection dates? Do they have places where they collect fluorescent bulbs? Find a place that collects fluorescent bulbs. Finding out what your trash company does and how to do it correctly is so helpful for the recycling and composting and garbage industry. It is so helpful. And you can start looking at what you buy that doesn't end up being able to be recycled or composted. You should look at your trash, see what you got in there, and see what you can cut out of buying, especially food. That's a huge one, food packaging. In our house, we don't buy a ton of packaged foods. COVID, of course, has changed a couple things because you can't get things in your own container as much. But I'm going to show you a couple tricks that help with that. So I'm going to grab a couple things here. We're going to talk about going grocery shopping. So one of the things when I go grocery shopping is I do put produce in canvas bags. Can't do that right now where I live. If you are able to do this where you live, great. Use canvas bags. Tom's, they had this in a free bin at my thrift store. I grabbed this because you can put rice, beans, flour, anything in one of these. Right now during COVID, I've been using a lot of brown paper bags from the mushroom area where they have the mushrooms, and I use this for my bulk items. I have a bulk system at my local store that they've figured out a way in which for you to fill these up. But right now, you know, it is what it is. And if you can't fill up bulk in these, you just have to make choices, and it's a bummer, but it is what it is right now. And this too shall pass, I swear. Knock on simulated wood grain. So I use these. If I forget these, even if like these don't make it into my bag, or I forget to get my canvas bags or my basket, these are a great option for even for produce. You can use these. I'll put anything in there. Some of them are weaker than others, so you have to be careful. I also look for materials that are compostable, recyclable, or repairable. I can repair a basket. I can repair a canvas bag. I can repair a mesh bag. I can't repair those mystery material bags that are that weird plastic that you get at the grocery store, or the ones of the weird fabric that really aren't fabric. Those cannot be recycled. They can't be fixed. They can't be put in textile recycling at the dump or in one of those collection bins in a parking lot of Safeway. These kinds of things can be. You know, all of these can be. So look for materials that you can repair, you can compost, or you can have recycled in textile recycling mostly. That's kind of how I live by, as far as even with the clothes that I buy clothes that are all natural fibers, very limited non-natural fibers because of the recyclability and the footprint of nylon, yoga pants, stuff like that. There's a lot of pollutants used to make those clothing, and they use a lot of petrochemicals, which we all need to curb if we're going to keep global warming from climate change, let's say climate change, to overtake us and wreak havoc on our planet. So baskets, good thing. We use a lot of jars in our house. These are soybeans for making soy milk or tofu, which I do occasionally. And I use a lot of these even for food storage at home instead of Tupperware, plastic Rubbermaid containers. I use a lot of glass jars. And I also use jars that stuff comes in that I buy, because I will buy stuff packaged, but I look for stuff in alternative materials that are good for the planet, or at least recyclable or refillable. So I do buy canned things and things that are canned in glass and in metal. I really try to stay away from plastic if I really can. Sometimes I do buy stuff in plastic, and that's just the nature of the beast. I try not to feel guilty about it. I totally feel guilty about it, but you know, I have to get over it at some point. So this is previously, before COVID hit locally, I could put stuff in these too. I could bring a bunch of these and I could fill it with olive oil or soy sauce, maple syrup, honey, peanut butter, stuff like that. But right now I'm buying stuff in glass jars out of the aisles rather than the bulk department. Otherwise, this is what I would use in the bulk departments to fill my liquids and my peanut butters and stuff like that. In my kitchen, I use wood and metal utensils because this could be put in your yard waste bin eventually, and this could be recycled in your recycling bin. But I doubt this will ever break in a million years. Like, I can leave this to my children. This will last forever. Restaurant supply, thrift stores. I got this at a thrift store. I got this was a gift from a fair trade store. So, you know, you can find cool stuff. I use a lot of funnels. This is an aluminum funnel that I use when I buy shampoo and conditioner. I put it here. That's one thing that I've been able to buy because it's not edible. With COVID, I fill these up. And then I have a couple of these. I have one for shampoo and conditioner. I have one for dish soap next to my sink. It's one of those pumps. It's a stainless steel pump, and you can find out where to get this on my blog. So I take this, I put this here, then I take my jar, and I fill it up. I go like this, and I've got shampoo and conditioner in my shower or bathtub, bath area, so that I don't have to buy plastic shampoo and conditioner bottles. I use these for olive oil. I use this for vinegar. I use this for all sorts of stuff. I use paper coffee bags. This is a place you look for sneaky plastic. There's sneaky plastic all over the place. The inside of this paper bag, there's no plastic. Oftentimes there's plastic on the inside of the coffee bag that you have to look for, which then makes it non-recyclable and non-compostable because the plastic is fused to the paper. Unless you're going to sit there and pull it all off, which I have other things to do in my life rather than do that, that you won't be able to do anything once the bottom blows out of this. And you can reuse these once COVID is over. You can reuse this, and if you're lucky enough to be able to use it where you are, yay! So I use these over and over and over again. And I'll glue the bottom if it comes apart, because it's perfectly usable. I buy, when I can, I live on an island, which makes getting milk like this not always possible, but milk in glass. I buy milk in glass. I make oat milk. I've made soy milk. It's much more difficult and labor intensive, but I do make oat milk because it's planet friendly to make oat milk, and it's super easy. So you can Google how to make oat milk, and it takes you like 20 minutes. And so if you buy milk, you can do it this way too. This is local. It's fabulous. It's good stuff. It's just not homogenized, so you're going to get the cream on the top. So don't be grossed out. It's super tasty. Those of us that are local, there's this company, Willridge Winery. This is a big old jug of wine. It's bigger than my head, which is the way it should be. They have refillable, like a deposit. It's kind of like the milk bottle where you pay deposit, and you get a two big old bottles of wine here, and you pay a deposit, and you turn it to them, and you get a new bottle. So this is great for parties or, family, or just, hanging out during COVID when you have nothing else to do. Drink some wine. They have a table red and a table white, and it's quite good wine. So you can look for things like that. And sometimes there's wine being sold in flip tops like this, or cider. These French flip top jar containers. They're great because then you can use vinegar. This is filled with water for me tonight, but vinegar, maple syrup. I have 2 of these next to my sink, next to my stove, with a speed pour from a bar, which is, you pour and it comes out. They're called speed pours, and I have those in the end, and I refill them with olive oil and sunflower oil that I buy in bulk. Let's see. Lunch containers, to-go containers in metal. These will last forever. These fit inside here for when your kiddos need lunch, or you're going back to work, or you're going out for the day, or whatever. These are great. They're better than plastic Ziplocs, which are non-recyclable. Sorry, no matter what somebody tells you, they just gum up the machine when they try to recycle them. I use a lot of these French flip-top jars, and I get these at thrift stores for I think these is 99 cents where I got this, and it's just flips up like this, and then you can buy these seals. They're usually orange, sometimes white, and when they get all hard and weird, you just replace it. And you don't, unlike these jars, you have all this stuff to store, and they get all rusty and weird, and so do the lids. These don't do that. So these are great. I have these in my pantry for dry goods. I've got all of them from a thrift store. So if I see you at a thrift store and you're holding a jar, I'll wrestle you to the ground for a big old La Parfait jar. All right, this one is great. This is a food storage container. It's called a tiffin jar. They use the tiffin box. They use these in India for lunches. It's got tiers, so you can put rice in the bottom and your curry or your stew on the top, and it won't be all soggy and gross. But I wouldn't put super wet, drippy stuff in this because this is not watertight. But these are great. I also keep these in my car along with, I keep one of these in my car. I have a fold-up spork that I keep in my purse, and a napkin. But I always have one of these and a jar, a quart jar in my car, so that when we go out to eat, when we were able to go out and eat, if I needed to put leftovers in something, that's what I would do. I would put my leftovers in a jar, and I wouldn't have to get the polystyrene or the paper container or any container to have to deal with on the other end. Yeah, so this is a great thing. This is called a beeswax wrap. I imagine everybody's heard about these. This is a really old one by a company called Obigo, and I really love their beeswax wraps because they're actually soft and pliable, and they don't crack, and you don't have wax coming off in your hand or falling off and slowly degrading. These are awesome. You can use them for covering anything. They're very strong, and they just melt with the heat of your hand around a jar. You just kind of use the heat of your hand, you mold it, and it stays on there. Don't like put it in the oven or anything like that because it's wax. And when you wash it, be very kind to it and use lukewarm water and dish soap and wash it off, and your pasta stains from your lasagna that you're covering up will come off. I have had one roll of aluminum foil for 12 years. I reuse aluminum foil, I wash it, I hang it up, and then I reuse it until I can't anymore. And then I save up all the aluminum and I make a ball, big ball, like the size of a small like pie pumpkin, and I put that in the recycling. If you can do that where you live, check with your recycling organization to make sure that that's possible. Sometimes they won't even take aluminum foil at all. So these are great. Everybody loves these. This is also on my blog with the name and everything. We use a lot of clothespins in our house for closing up things like a sandwich, or I use clothespins. They're great. We have straws in our house. We have several kinds. We have a glass, which is still in the package because it will break if I take it out, because that's how we roll in our house. I have metal ones. These I like. They come with a little cleaner, little pipe cleaner, so you can go up there and make sure you don't get any 3-month-old smoothie when you try to drink through it. Not that that's ever happened. Yeah, yeah, it has, and it's gross. So you clean it, and it's great. Paper straws. If you need a lot of straws, this is a really great option when somebody has sensory issues or a lot of people coming over. Paper straws are great. And then the bamboo ones. This is a bamboo one. I use the same cleaner to clean the bamboo ones because I'm reusing it. I clean it. These ones, if you put them in a cocktail or something mildly flavored, it tastes a lot like you're drinking it through some grass, because that's what bamboo is, and it will swell up if you leave it sitting in there. But these are great too. I have a handful of these for when my kids were small, and they're a really great option. Okay, so we're gonna move on. That was the kitchen. And you can ask any questions at the end if you want, and maybe I missed something. I probably did, knowing me. So we're going to move on to hygiene in the bathroom and those types of things. So we'll start at the top. So I buy toilet paper. This is a company. It's called Who Gives a Crap? And I know it's a funny company. Great name. You can order toothpaste. This isn't toothpaste. You can order toilet paper. At least I don't think there's a run on toilet paper right now. There might be. I don't know. But you can buy this by the case. And it comes without any plastic. It comes in a cardboard box, and everything is wrapped in tissue. This is a great way of doing it. You can also sometimes order things through your local co-op. You can order a case of toilet paper. That's how I usually do it. I used to get subscription to these guys, but then in the moving and everything, it just didn't work anymore. So this is great. This is a great company. Along with the toilet, this is everything else you see here is pulled out of like various cubbies and places in my house, except for this. This is nice and clean and brand new and never used for you guys. This is a toilet brush that is natural bristles with twisted metal down the center, metal that goes inside this shaft, and this is all wood. What's nice about this is when this is dead, you can cut this down and then you can pull it apart, and it can go in the recycling once it's washed and everything. And this can be used or for a fairy wand or a gun, because you know that's what boys do. They turn everything into a gun. It has holes. You can put stuff in it, make it a fairy wand or witch's wand, whatever, Harry Potter wand. And this can go into the the compost bin, yard waste bin, or you can turn it into anything else. You can make it a plant marker. You can hold a plant up with it that's falling over, various things. But it is compostable, recyclable with the metal. This, I think I got this online, again, on the website, on my blog. These are great. Sometimes with the new low flow toilet paper toilets, though, you have to squish the head a little bit before you use it so that it goes down inside the vent out of your toilet, because this size doesn't work anymore because now they're much smaller, the empty part of your toilet. So I recommend shaping it. Before you use it, shape it. Okay, so we do a couple things here. You can use, instead of buying shampoo and conditioner, if you can't get it in bulk, you can also get a hold of shampoo bars. This is J.R. Liggett's shampoo bar. There are lots of other companies that are selling zero waste in paper packaging shampoo and conditioner bars. I've not had great luck with the conditioner bars, but I have with the shampoo bars. So recommend investigating, finding something that works for you and your hair and makes you happy. But there are things out there that are awesome. That are this is in paper, but sometimes there are ones that come in cardboard. I have a metal travel soap box, and I use for traveling, but I use unpackaged soap, which I buy at my local co-op, or there are some stores that carry them. I think Whole Foods has them. Co-ops, natural food stores often have one or two unwrapped, affordable bars of soap. Oftentimes, cut your own soap that they have. It's all fancy. That's like Christmas present soap, because it's a little too expensive for me and our family to use that on a regular basis. But you can often find an unwrapped soap, or one that's just wrapped in tissue paper, or just avoiding the packaging is a really great thing. So there's that. So we're going to move on to shaving here. I have this little kit, but it's a little safety razor. This is my travel safety razor, and it folds up, and then it's in here. I have a regular razor in my shower. That's a regular safety razor, I mean. So it comes in 2 pieces. I got this at a thrift store, antique store. So this is the safety razor, and it has a little blade in here. Don't travel with the blade on your carry-on. Put it in an envelope and send it to yourself at your final destination, because you can't get on the airplane with one of these. And they come in packages like this of 10. Yeah, no, 5. There's 5 in here, but a blade lasts like 6 months. So you're in a really good place for a very long time with just a 5-pack. And then there's this really cool thing called a blade safe. So what this is when your blade is all rusty, or not rusty, but is dull and you can't use it anymore, you put it inside this blade safe. You hear that? Those are a couple blades that are in here. So what this does is when this is full, you can throw this into your recycling bin, and it doesn't endanger anybody on the sorting line at the recycling plant. So this is a really great, safe way to make this recyclable and not endanger anybody. Back in the day, I used to live in several houses that actually, in the medicine cabinet, you'd open it and there'd be this little slit in the side of the medicine cabinet, and that was a blade safe. That's where men and women deposited their safety blades. So often as people renovate and they're like, why are all these razors in my wall? That was intended to just hold the blades for eternity. So these are great, and it's on my blog where to get these. I can't remember. I've had these a long time, and they're cheap. They're like $2 or something like that, and they last a really long time. We use wooden matches. This is from a place I used to work a billion years ago. And we use matches in our house. We don't really use lighters, because lighters are plastic and end up in the ocean. Hair stuff. I'm going to go back to hair stuff really quick. So I use a wooden hairbrush. This is the back, and it has wooden teeth, I guess is what you'd call these. They do exist. Oftentimes when you buy a new hairbrush, though, it's sitting on a card that has the hole, and then it hangs, it hangs from the card. Oftentimes that card is plastic. So trying to find something that's a natural hairbrush that is on a paper card that isn't got a plastic thing on it. I mean, you start really getting to the nitty-gritty of how stuff is packaged, and you really start realizing you can't buy a lot of the stuff because there's either a plastic card, or there's plastic across here, or it's completely in a plastic sleeve, or any number of places where you're going to find plastic, because that's how you kind of have to think about things. It's like, if I bring this home, it's not just the end product inside the bag, it's what is it packaged in, where is it coming from, Then you can go to who's making it, what's the carbon footprint, is there child labor, I mean, you can go down that rabbit hole, which is a rabbit hole a lot of us like to go down, me included, but just starting out with just trying to reduce the plastic in your house is a good place to start. But you know, there are layers that you can go down from there. I use bobby pins, and once again, this is on a paper card. I tore it down over the years. But I use bobby pins in my hair, and then I use alligator clips, metal alligator clips in my hair. But again, you have to look for places where there's plastic, because oftentimes the card that this comes on is plastic. So looking for paper, if you need bobby pins, is a great place to start. Find something on paper. Oh, here's the alligator clip that's in my hair. They use these, they have these at beauty supply stores. They use these to hold your hair back when they're coloring them. So these are great because they're all metal. All right, where are we on to? We're on to teeth. Let's do some teeth, shall we? Oh my gosh, I have so much teeth stuff. Okay, so we're gonna talk about toothbrushes really quick here. All right, so this is a bamboo toothbrush right here. You might notice there's plastic in here, and the brush does have nylon bristles. So this plastic is actually compostable plastic. When you take the toothbrush, the FDA requires that everything that's going to be used for dental care has to be wrapped in plastic and sealed. They didn't say it couldn't be corn plastic or compostable plastic. It just has to be sealed so that somebody doesn't take it and brush their own teeth and stick it back in here and stick it on the shelf when you buy it. So this is by a company called Senza Care, S-E-N-Z-A Care. This is also on my blog. But this is compostable, and it comes in this compostable brown paper. The nylon bristles are not compostable. So when you're done, you take some pliers and you pull out the bristles, and then you get this. This is what it looks like. I use these as plant markers in my garden. I stick it in and I write on here with pencil, or I do have Sharpies. I write here in Sharpie, and I know what kind of corn I planted, so I'm not confusing it with others. But you can also just toss this in your yard waste bin or in your own personal compost, or if you live on, I live on 11 acres, I could just throw this, you know, off my front porch and it will biodegrade. So that's the toothbrush. So, oh, this is really cool. So this is a company called EcoBoo, and I'm gonna show you. It comes in this paper. I haven't opened this one, so you guys should be very excited. This is a bamboo replacement head for a Sonicare. I know, standing ovation, so excited about this. So it has a little hole. It doesn't grip great, but it's better than the plastic alternative. These are available on eBay, and this is on my blog, but it's called EcoBoo. You just look up EcoBoo bamboo Sonicare replacement head, and this will come up. And they're cheap. They're way cheaper than the Sonicare. Like, I think these are like $4. So it's way cheaper than a Sonicare replacement head, a normal one. This felt like a revelation in my house. So there's a couple other things here. Let's see, we've got, this is what's left of my David's toothpaste. And look, it's got a toothpaste, it's got a key because it's in a metal tube. Those of us that are of a certain age will remember these when we were children, because our toothpaste came in a metal tube, and I am part of that group. So you use this and you wind up your toothpaste. So David's, this is, So this is fluoride free. It's made in California, and it's with 80% organic ingredients and domestic ingredients. This is pretty cool. So you can technically throw this in the recycling bin, which is cool, except for the cap, which is minimal plastic. So there's this other thing. I broke the glass container it was in. These are toothpaste bites by a company called Bite, B-I-T-E, like R-R-R. And these are great for brushing your teeth too. They come in a glass jar, and you can order the glass jar, and then when you get the jar, you've got it, and then you can order replacements, and they come in a little compostable corn plastic bag, and then you can just keep refilling your little jar. They make ones that are that have charcoal to help whitening, but they're all fluoride free. If you do fluoride free, full disclosure, I do like David's in the morning, and I do regular toothpaste at night. For me, going 100% fluoride free didn't work. I had a cavity at 46, and I just kind of went, okay, I'm gonna figure out a happy medium here. So I went back to one day, and I haven't had any since. This isn't the case for everybody. You can also brush with coconut oil and salt, coconut oil and baking soda. Just salt and baking soda you can brush your teeth with. There are all sorts of things out there. We don't have to do toothpaste. Some of us do, like me. I prefer to have my teeth, so I had to find a happy medium, a way that worked for me to keep my teeth in my head, which felt important. So, okay, so this was also another revelation in our house. This is compostable dental floss. These are replacement boxes. This is a replacement box that I found these. It's called Wow with an E. It had 5 refills of silk floss. The company that I bought their container. It's called Dental Lace. This is also on my blog. And it's a glass dispenser that looks like this, and you can get them all in fancy colors. This happens to be the gray and blue and black one. They make a pink one, and they make another one, so you can color coordinate them with your outfit. And then it comes with one spool in corn plastic. And they do make, I think they make a vegan one now that is made of bamboo, and I think it's charcoal, has charcoal and bamboo, and it's vegan. It's covered with vegan wax. This is covered with vegan wax, but this is not vegan because it's silk, and silkworms are killed to make silk. But you can buy replacement things here, and you can sometimes buy replacements here, and you can look and see what works for you. But these are both on my blog, and this is Dental Lace. There are a lot of companies coming out with little glass containers that are super usable and super awesome to make the replacement. This was like a big old party when these came around, and this was a big old party, this replacement head when it showed up. I get excited about the weirdest things, but I got really excited about this. So it also, what it did is it changed our garbage cans in our bathroom. We now have a garbage can that's about this big in our bathroom. And then we have a recycling bin, and then we have a compost bin that we put our nail clippings and our hair sheddings and our dental floss and any other things that are 100% compostable. The recyclable stuff goes in there, and then garbage. We have a couple of things that go, like the lid to the toothpaste, or a couple other things that we have to buy that have a tiny bit of plastic. So I also use a couple weird things here. Well, this is solid perfume by a company called Pacifica. It smells fabulous, and it doesn't have a ton of chemicals in it. I use this instead of bottled perfume, and often has a bunch of petrochemicals in it. So I use this. It's also great for traveling. So this is the weird one. I'm going to hold it up and see if you guys can see. I'm going to try and give you a nice background. Okay, there it is. So this tiny little thing is called a Korean ear spoon. It's made from bamboo. I know you heard me correctly, ear spoon. So what this is this is used for removing wax out of your ears. For me, I didn't like the feeling of like kind of it felt sharp inside my ear, this feeling inside my ear. So what I do when I do it is I wrap a little bit of toilet paper around it, and then I turn it and I dampen my fingers so it kind of pastes to itself at the bottom, and then I dry the opening of my ears. Or I just use a little bit of toilet paper. I don't go digging for gold with these, which is what you're not supposed to do. But this is the Korean ear spoon. Isn't that crazy? So there is a company that does make bamboo shaft with organic cotton buds on both ends, pardon me. And they're from New Zealand, and they're super hard to get because when they make enough, they're sold in like 20 minutes. And you can't really import much from New Zealand right now, even if it's coming via Asia. It's, for some reason, there's something, I don't know. I can just never get them. And so I've tried to figure out something, and this was a good one. So the Korean ear spoon, once again, on my blog. You can get that at Korean grocery stores and some Asian grocery stores. It does come in a plastic sleeve, but that much plastic saves you from buying the thing at Costco of 17 billion earbuds in the giant blister pack of plastic that will last you 16 years. this, you won't probably, unless you lose it or you break it off. And if you break it off, then you're working way too hard cleaning your ears. FYI. So now we're going to move into the office. So, oh my goodnesses. All right. We've got a couple things here. So I use a refillable, honestly, I'm still working through regular pens in my house that tend to show up. I swear I'll get a pen that is from like a chiropractor's office in Alaska, and I don't even know where it came from. So they multiply in the drawer. I swear I haven't bought a pen in 15 years at least, except for this one. And I still have pens. I don't know how it happens. If someone explained that to me, because that would be awesome. So this is a bamboo pen with metal findings on it. And you can refill it. It has this little twisty thing right here, and you stick it in your ink. Here's the ink, and you stick it in there. Let's imagine this is in there, and then you draw up the little plunger and it fills with ink. And this is a fountain pen, so you can keep reusing this. I have vintage ones also that are just, I need to get them repaired, that were my grandparents, but this is really, really great. And this is some India ink that I got in a little glass jar. Sometimes you can find it, it's usually in plastic, but in art supply stores you can often find really nice ink, and it's made specifically for fountain pens, and so it won't clog, it won't dry, it won't be weird. But transitioning to something like this means none of those plastic pens multiplying in your drawer, because once you have them, you can't get rid of them, I swear. Okay, so here's the pen.
Siobhan, we just had a quick question about how do you clean your Korean ear spoon?
So I just, well, like for me, like I said, I put a little bit of toilet paper over it, so that's easy. I just pull it off. But what you can do is just a little bit of soap and warm water, a little bit of hand soap or face soap, and you just wash it and it's clean, and then you just leave it to dry. I have a little jar in my my closet in my bathroom where I have my cabinet, and it just hangs up and dries. So it's easy as that. And if you feel like you need to sanitize, stick it in some vodka and you're good to go while you make yourself a cocktail at the same time. Because you can't not have vodka. So here you go. That's how you clean that. Good question. I use a lot of vodka for cleaning, for sanitizing, and no, it's not 100% because it's not 70% alcohol, but it does a pretty good job, and it comes in glass, and it's multi-purpose. Like I said, you can make yourself a cocktail while you clean. So in the office, this is a red highlighter pencil. Yeah, I have a yellow one, but my daughter has it. She's in high school and she seems to be using it a lot, which is good. Maybe. But you can get highlighter pencils, which are really nice instead of the plastic highlighter pens in various colors. So that's really nice. So they're somewhat translucent, but they're like neon colors, which is really nice. And I got this at an art supply store. I buy naked pencils, so they don't have any color on them. You see, they don't have Garfield or Batman, or even that they're yellow. The Garfield, Batman, heart pencils, peace sign pencils are vacuum sealed plastic on the outside. So when you get your metal pencil sharpener, so here's my little from an art supply store, and you shave these, if you use a naked pencil, the shavings from this can go straight into your compost bin. You don't, the ones that are yellow, the ones that have Garfield on the outside, you can't do that with, they have to go in the trash. So FYI, that's pretty cool. I also found these in the by piece at an art supply. I mean, these were 5 cents a piece, and I have kids, and these are often on the supply list for when your kids need stuff for school. So I was filling my shirt. I pulled my shirt out and I was filling it up with those because I got so excited because they weren't packaged. But there are these two, art supply store, which is great, along with this pencil sharpener, which I have one in the bathroom for my eye makeup. I have one in the drawer downstairs. My kids each have one. My husband has one. We all have these, and they weigh a lot. So they're pretty heavy duty. These are not going to break. Grease pencils, great thing to have. I love grease pencils. Refillable pencils. They do take these, remember these? These are the refillable pencils for these, but I have tons of these. My father was an artist, and when he passed away, I got like, I swear to God, I got like a cardboard box full of these. I'm exaggerating, but it feels like it. But sometimes you have these laying around, may as well use it. And I buy these at thrift stores, paintbrushes for art activities. and just even for applying a homemade paste, a wheat paste that you can make with glue and water and a stove, and you've got paste. All right, I use gum erasers, natural gum erasers, and of course these I buy by the piece. That means individually at an art supply store. And the gum erasers can go, the sloughing when you're erasing something, there's all that rolled up eraser on your plate, on your paper, that can all go in your compost. A pink eraser can't because it's plastic. This stuff can. This is a natural gum eraser, often at art supply stores, because they don't smudge as much as just pull the graphite off of the page. And artists would much prefer having that than that weird smudging that often happens with the pink erasers. Okay. Oh, well, okay. So my Crayola thing is empty, and I don't know how that happened. I wonder if my 6th grader stole these, but often. So I brought these up in as an example. These are great because the cardboard is in a cardboard container. The next best thing is that you can buy, and those ones disappeared, of course. I swear, my children. You can buy they're colored pencils, but the shaft that surrounds the colored part is rolled newspaper. And those are really great because you can put the shavings into the recycling. These, I think, might be paint on the outside. And so I think that you might be able to do the shavings too. I have to research that, put that in my brain, figure out if you can compost the shavings from these. On my bags, something I forgot to say is when you are able to use these bags in your when you go grocery shopping, I use washable crayons, the super dark colors like the blue or the brown or the black or the dark green, and I will write on here the bin number. And then when this goes to the wash, it's miraculously gone, and you can start over and put beans in here next week when you had rice in there the previous week. So washable crayons from Crayola, these are great. These are great. The kids can also draw on the bathroom walls with these in the bathtub and then wash right off. Yay, or on the window, same thing. Okay, nothing else about compostable tape. This is from a place called lifewithoutplastic.com. It's compostable tape. It's a little wonky. It keeps sliding off of its thing, but I've had it a really long time. Paper scissors. This is on my blog too. Paper scissors that are 100% plastic. They can be sharpened and reused. I have my great grandmother's scissors. I think they're like 100 years old, and I can still sharpen them and tighten them, and they still work great. Cleaning. I gotta hustle here. Geez, Heather, pressure. All right, this is the Tawashi brush. We're cleaning. This is the kitchen. I use this for scrubbing pots and surfaces. It's a natural brush that's got metal in the bottom. This is also on my blog. Wool dryer balls. They cut the drying time. You have 4 of them, but I have this one out. The other 3 are in my dryer. This cuts your drying time by 30%, throwing these in, because what they do is they move the clothing around so you don't get clumps of stuff in there. These are great. You can buy these. You can buy them fair trade online. I use old t-shirts that I've cut up as rags because I don't really care if they get greasy or gross. I can just put them wash them and then throw them in textile recycling. And I do have microfiber cloths, which I'm not a fan of because of the fiber sloughing, the microfiber sloughing off of these, but I've had these for eons. As you can see, they're really pretty on the inside. They don't have a single hole or anything. So these are a big workhorse in our house. I use these as to wash in the sink and to clean up other things. Speaking of microfibers, this is Guppy Friend. Can you see? Yeah, Guppy Friend washing bag. This is a bag that holds your yoga pants and your roller derby uniforms that you put clothes in and you wash them. And this keeps the microfiber from sloughing off of your fleece and all your nylon clothing. These are great. These are on my blog. I have a resource. I can't remember where you get them, but you used to get them on Patagonia website, but I don't know if they have it anymore. But it's Guppy Friend, all one word. And if you go on the Patagonia, you have to put that word in the search bar. You can't say washing bag. It won't come up. So this is a microfiber washing bag. These are great for all those non-natural fibered clothing. Okay. We've got a veggie brush. This is what it looks like when it's about to go in the yard waste container. But this, at the end of something's life, this is where it's going to go. When I buy things, this is what I think about. Where is something at the end of its life going to go? This gets to go in the yard waste container. or into my burn pile, into my fireplace. So that's something to think about. So I have, this is an example, is a corn broom. This is a hand broom that's 100% plastic free for around the house. And I have a metal dustpan that's another thing you'll have to drive over to have it break. I have one of these in my basement and one in my kitchen. These are great. I highly recommend investing in one of those, and it's not a big investment. I got this at Target for $3 in those bins at the front. You also can get them at Ace Hardware, True Value, for like $8, and you'll never ever have to buy another one. It won't lose that rubber gasket along the end or get all chewed up or anything like that. Great thing. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about school supplies here. So these are great. These are from the US Post Service. These are their cushioned envelopes. They're made with recycled material inside, like shredded textiles, so you don't have to deal with that mixture of bubble wrap and paper. These are great. Support your local post office. Buy some envelopes. This is called guidedproducts.com. This is on my website, but what's really nice is that this binder, it's a 3-ring binder for kids. It has a screw here and here, and when this all dies, you can unscrew this part and make another one. So that's fabulous, because these break down and fall apart, because eventually they'll look like this, like my daughter's. But hers I can unscrew and put on another binder. I can make one. Sometimes you can find compostable composition books for kids. This is from Staples, and it's eco-friendly composition book. It's 100% post-consumer waste. Peachy folders. I get most of my stuff at thrift stores off season. Here's the peachy folder, which my kids thought were really ugly until they discovered, we all know this little thing right here. They were so excited about the multiplication table, and then I took a Sharpie and went over it so they couldn't cheat. But these are great. Paper, no plastic, no, it's not shiny, doesn't have a layer of plastic on the outside. It's fabulous. Okay, so super fast, I want to talk about buying stuff in other containers. So here's sunscreen, which I'm a big advocate of. I had a family member that died of skin cancer, and everybody, you can buy sunscreen, and it comes in aluminum, which is recyclable. So please use your sunscreen. So that, thinking about things in other materials that are recyclable, you can still get some things in it. Just have to think a little bit differently. Oh, another thing I carry in my car is a drinking cup. You never know when you're going to see an art opening and they have free wine. So you got to be prepared. So these are great. Every Girl Scout and Boy Scout knows what these are. This is on my website, so you'll know where to get it. So this is part of buying things that do good. Okay, so this is a company called Lucy Light, and I know it's plastic, but the thing about Lucy Light is it's a solar lantern. That's theirs, and then there's their, like, it's their emergency, like you need help. This is a great lantern for camping because it doesn't take batteries. We've put out on our picnic table. It charges all day, and then we turn it on at night, and it keeps the critters out of your camp. But it's also, you take the air out of it, it folds down, it's super small. I also have this when the power goes out. This is sitting in my window at my house, so I always know where it is, and it's always charged. This is fabulous. Plus, what Lucy Light does is when they had the earthquake in Nepal, they went up into the mountains where all the people were living because they couldn't live in their houses anymore, and they dumped helicopter loads of these for the people living in Nepal. So, companies that do good. This is another company. It's a flashlight. My kids have this. It's a LED flashlight, but it's solar. It sits on their windowsill, and it has a carabiner here. We live in a 2-story house, so if there's a fire, they put this and they can throw it down, and they won't lose it if they attach to something. But what this company did is called Sunlight Solar. Is when you buy one, it's called BOGO Light. When you buy one, they give one to somebody in a third world country who doesn't have electricity. So, yay, doing good. Okay, warranties. Buy something that has a warranty. I have a Stanley, one of these will last forever. It breaks, they'll replace it. Spend your money wisely. Spend it with a company or an organization. Company that backs up its product or an organization that does good. Totes umbrellas. It breaks, they'll replace it or you fix it. Who else? JanSport backpacks. If they break, they'll fix it or you get a coupon to pick out another one. Darn Tough socks and Wigwam socks. They have certain lines of their socks that if they wear out, they'll replace it for you. Spending your money with a company that isn't designing things for obsolescence, like, oh, it breaks, then you have to throw the whole thing away and get a new one. Buying things well, thinking about long-term alternative materials, buying things used. So that's my 2 cents. Anybody have any questions? We're done. I'm sweaty. So I always get caught up. Anybody else have anything they want to say? I need a drink of water.
Juan, you were great.
I got it all in. Woo!
Nicely done. Lots of great comments. Coolest ever. Very helpful. Great job. Bravo. So many great options to single-use products. Love the EcoBoo Sonicare replacement heads.
I know, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was new for me. Thanks for bringing that up. Yes, so many.
You've seen this how many times now? It's always nice to throw something new in.
Exactly. Well, I learn all kinds of new things always. How do you measure the weight of your glass jars before?
Oh, okay, yeah, good thing. Okay, so there's something that's called a tear weight. So what I do is I go to the co-op, let's say, and I carry a Sharpie. Like I said, I do have Sharpies, and I'll see if there's an empty cash register, and I'll say, hey, do you mind if I put my tear weight on my jars? So I put it on there. Then I take my Sharpie and either I write it on the lid or I write it on the side or on the bottom. This one has a wavy bottom, so I wouldn't write it there. I'd write it on the side. But if I'm filling it with maple syrup or soy sauce, don't write in Sharpie on the jar because you won't be able to see what the weight was. So you can write it on the top. It will wash off eventually. That's how I do it. And oftentimes, let's see, maybe this one has it. No, not this one. A bag. This one actually has its tear weight on the tag. So this one is tear weight 0.60 ounces, so 0.04 of a pound, and then has the grams on the back. Oftentimes you do that, or what I've done, say this one doesn't have one, I actually weigh it and then I'll write in Sharpie what the tear weight is on the bottom, and that shouldn't wash out. And that's how it is, and you just tell them. Oh, one of the tricks you can do when you go to when you're checking out, and you've taken, I take pictures with my phone of all the PLUs, like all the bin numbers. And also, if you take a picture of the whole label, it has the cooking instructions, has the ratios. So you're not going, okay, how much water goes in the pancake mix? Oh, was that falafel? Like you can't figure it out. So, and then it has the nutritional information, it has who made it and everything. But what you do is when you take your pictures, you put that on the belt. You put each of your bags and your jars on the belt in the order of your pictures. So you're not like going pancake, prunes, falafel mix, and then you go to check out and you're like, oh, hold on, I need to find that picture. It will drive the people behind you and crazy, and it will drive the checker crazy. They already think you're nuts coming in the way and shopping the way that you are. So make your life easy and their life easy by doing that. That's my 2 cents.
Perfect.
I have lots of 2 cents in case you didn't know.
Let's see, it says, just a note, you should check with your waste hauler before putting hair in a yard waste bin.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why getting to know whoever your waste hauler is, that's why getting to know them is good, and knowing what you can and cannot. It's a good place to start.
Exactly.
And you are correct.
Exactly. Okay, so yes, Siobhan's website is One Glass Jar. That is her blog.
Yeah,
so
.com.
in case you wanted to look on there.
Everything's there. You should, and if it's not, message me and say, you said this, and where the heck is it? And I will fix it.
Thank you so much. Well, and rather than try my luck at technology again, I'm going to go ahead and just introduce Patricia this way, old-fashioned way, without having a slide. So Patricia, you're welcome.
Bye, everybody.
To share your screen. Siobhan, thank you again so much.
Yeah.
Um,
All right.
just wonderful as always. So our next speaker is Dr. Patricia Townsend, and she started a brief career as a fashion designer after graduating from Parsons School of Design. She worked in New York City, Italy, and Peru as a knitwear designer. And these experiences helped her quickly realize that she loved the natural world more than design. Currently, Patricia is an associate professor and natural resources extension specialist at Washington State University. Patricia leads research and outreach on a variety of environmental issues, including green infrastructure, plastic pollution, renewable energy, sustainable urban systems, and ecosystem services. And tonight she's going to be talking to us about cool clothing to cut carbon. So Patricia, without further ado, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you, Heather. Can you hear me okay? All right, I'm assuming that's I'm not hearing any.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, all right, good. Thank you for that introduction. What I'm going to talk about tonight is going to echo a lot what Siobhan shared. So it was going to be similar, but I'm going to dive into the details of clothing. We all wear clothing every day. We need it to protect ourselves, to keep warm, and a lot of times we want to look nice. Maybe not so much nowadays. Maybe we're more focused into wearing clothing that is comfortable because we're spending a lot of time at home. Those of us that work at home, you know, we're maybe need to look nice from the head and shoulders area, but we can wear sweatpants and no one will know. But that won't always be the case. As Siobhan mentioned, this too shall pass. And why isn't my screen advancing?
Um,
I'm going to stop sharing and then reshare to see if that helps, because I'm not going forward.
okay.
Okay. Thank you for your patience, everyone. Okay, there we go. So clothing, we need it to keep ourselves warm, to keep ourselves dry. Here in the Pacific Northwest, we're going to be wearing more and more layers of clothing as we're going into the fall season. We're wearing masks now. There's no reason why we can't wear a mask. That's another reason of protection, protecting us from the COVID virus. So, you know, it's a necessary item. You know, we need food, we need shelter, we need clothing. So it's something that we need. But most of us, including myself, we have way more clothes than we actually need. This is a quote from Ivanka Trump and Ivana Trump. Sorry about that. Ivana Trump. Ivana Trump is an ex-wife of a certain political figure that we all know too well. And this is from a book that I've read during quarantine time during last spring. And she talks about buying 2,000 bras, not only 2,000 bras, but she bought 2,000 bras in black, beige, and white. So 6,000 bras total, and shipped them all around the world. So how any one person would need that many bras, I don't know, but it's kind of goes along with this book that I was reading about affluenza, about how we would just buy and buy and buy and consume and buy more than any of us would actually need. And especially during times of stress, it's what I would call economic stupidity. And we end up buying things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't like. So this quote's been attributed to several people. I found it in a book by Dave Ramsey called The Total Money Makeover, a proven plan for financial fitness. But it's also been attributed to Will Rogers. So where Dave got it from, whether he made it up, whether it came from Will Rogers, I don't know for sure. But people, the trend is, especially in the United States, is that we are buying more and more clothing. In 2014, we bought 60% more than we did in 2000, and we kept each garment half as long. So we're buying more and we're using them less. So we're spending a lot of money to wear for clothing that we're not wearing very much at all. The problem is that the clothing and textile industry is really bad in terms of affecting the climate. I have read figures anywhere from 4 to 6 to 8 to as much as 10% of carbon emissions is due to the clothing and textile industry. This photo here is taken by a filmmaker named Adrian Taylor. It's from Bangladesh. I have a colleague that I used to work with that is from Bangladesh, so I learned a lot about that country. And this filmmaker, Adrian Taylor, was filming a documentary there about 30 million, and that's because the Bangladesh country is going to be highly affected by sea level rise, and it's going to displace a lot of people. The other thing about Bangladesh is a lot of clothing is made there. I have several jackets of mine that I wear frequently, and it have a made in Bangladesh label on it. These people are not paid very well. The working conditions are not very good either. And they are making a lot of clothing that is not quality made, not by choice, but because that's what they are asked to do. So when you look at clothing and textiles, this is a figure from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. They do a lot of work on what's called the circular economy. So the idea that you take a resource, you turn it into something, which you can with glass, for example, and then you can recycle it into glass again. So trying to figure out how to do that with the clothing and textile industry so that you are not spending so much carbon emissions. So all phases of creating a garment create carbon emissions, from the fiber production, from taking the fiber and turning it into cloth, making it into clothing, use of clothing, which we wash it and care for it, and then how we dispose of it after use. The numbers at the top of the screen there, I can hover my cursor over them, the 66%, 10%, 20%, 4%, I found those from one source today from a report called Fashion on Climate. And those are estimates of the amount of carbon emissions that you need for each of these 4 phases. I'd like to find another source for that, but so far this is the only one I found. But cotton, for example, which is maybe what they're indicating in this figure here on the lower left, is a highly resource intensive crop to produce. And then to take that cotton and turn it into fiber that can be made into cloth, that's also very energy intensive. As Siobhan mentioned, taking oil and turning it into nylon or polyester or any kind of synthetic fiber, that's a highly energy intensive way to make clothing as well. So it's an energy intensive process to make clothing and producing a lot of carbon emissions. So recently, particularly in the past year, I found a lot of fashion interest in climate change. So 3 articles that I've read, one from Harper's Bazaar, Vogue, and then also the Washington Post, is really looking at this intersection of how the fashion industry is affecting climate change. This is Jane Fonda, who any of you know the actress Jane Fonda. She has been an activist for most of her adult life, and she was protesting here just about a year ago in Washington, D.C., and she says that this red coat is the last piece of clothing that she ever plans to buy. Well, I'm assuming that Jane Fonda has a lot of beautiful clothes and that for her, never buying another piece of clothing is not a major sacrifice. So what happens to our clothing? A lot of our clothing and textiles, they end up in the landfill when a lot of them could be recycled. And actually here we produce what is equivalent to 1.5 Empire State Buildings of clothing. So it's a lot of clothing and textiles that end up in the landfill when many of them could be made, recycled, made into other uses instead of going directly to the landfill. When they end up in the landfill, they become, a lot of them degrade and release methane, which is a greenhouse gas, and much more potent in terms of affecting climate change than carbon dioxide. It's actually 4 times more potent than carbon dioxide when it's released. So what are some solutions? So this again is from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. This is something called a new textiles economy, where you have a more circular type area. And what I want you to notice is the areas where it's number 2 and number 3, because this is the part where us as consumers living in the shoreline area or nearby communities, where we can really do actions to improve. We can wear the clothes that we have more and use them more before we recycle them or send them to the landfill. And we can, make sure that our clothing actually is recycled and the textiles that we don't use. So what else can we do? I picked this photo because I liked that this person had on what to me looked like combining 2 different t-shirts into one. And I thought they were, fashionable, and their color choices here they were light blue. And this is a photographer that had picked this up in New York as someone, that they saw were representing the street style. And so I could see this as a way to upcycle 2 different t-shirts into a cool look. You want to know something about what your clothing is made of. There are natural fibers, and these are from a plant. These can be cotton, linen, bamboo, or they can become from animal hair or fur, such as wool, alpaca, cashmere, different fibers that are natural, that come from nature. These are all biodegradable, so that when we're done with them at the end of the life, if they are 100% of these natural fibers, they'll biodegrade and return to the earth. Sometimes these fibers are recycled. There's a professor here at WSU that I'm trying to collaborate with that takes cotton fibers and is working on how you can recycle them and turn them into new textiles. In contrast, when you have synthetic fibers, those are chemically produced. So think about polyester, nylon, any of our types of fabrics that help us here in the Northwest, that protect us from the weather, from the wind and the rain. They're usually made from petroleum, and they're not at all biodegradable, and it's rare that they are recycled. There are definitely some pros to them in that they keep us dry. I mean, one thing I can think of in terms of the greenhouse gas emissions is that a lot of these dry very quickly, so you don't need to use a dryer to dry them. You can hang them up in your house this time of year when it's cold and damp, and they'll be dry in a few hours. Whereas something that's made from cotton, it's going to take much longer, and you're more likely going to have a dryer to dry it. So some more advice in terms of what you can do is you can look at your wardrobe and use what you have. And maybe do this with a friend. Maybe you have a favorite sweater that you haven't worn in a few years. Decide if it's something you want to use, or maybe you want to trade it, or maybe you want to give it away. Find out what you have that you can maybe wear in a new way. This is a flashback from the 1980s. Molly Ringwald, who was an actor in this movie called Pretty in Pink. And so she didn't have a lot of money, and she wanted to go to the prom, and so she ended up buying a pink polka dotted dress and totally revamping it and reinventing it. And instead of, buying something that was new. So she took what already existed and was creative with it. One thing that a lot of people advocate for, including some designers, is replacing fast fashion with slow fashion. So you buy a few pieces and you maybe spend more money than you normally would, and you buy really high quality clothing and you buy things that you know you can mix and match with almost anything else in your wardrobe, and buy clothing that is well made and is going to last for years. This is also going to be clothing that's made out of high quality fabrics. And so being educated about what things are made from, where they're made, and how they're made is going to be helpful in helping your clothing last longer. Another idea is that in terms of how to do that is to have just a few pieces in similar colors, something that's called a capsule wardrobe. And so you can look this up on the internet and get tons of ideas for how you could have a fall 2020 capsule wardrobe and what pieces you would use and how you can mix and match them. So you have a lot of different looks, a lot of different outfits. I would say this 5-piece French wardrobe list here, I have a lot more clothing than is on that list. Just to be honest here, you know, I'm not perfect in this regard, but I rarely buy new clothing now. Think about things that are timeless. I am wearing a leopard scarf in my hair because I know you guys would not be able to see very much of what I'm wearing tonight, but that's something that's been around since, you know, the early 1900s, where these coats here were probably actually animal fur, which is sad to say, but now it is a faux animal fur. You know, very trendy, always in fashion, a leopard print. And so thinking about things like that, that you are going to be able to wear for years, and maybe there's a year or so you don't wear it, but you can bring it back and wear it again, maybe in a new way. So think about things that are timeless. Stripes is another example of things that are timeless. The other thing I'm wearing this evening that you can't see is I have on a pair of bright red pants that I have not worn since COVID started, but I decided to wear them tonight as an example of adding color to your wardrobe. So something to cheer you up, brighten your day. I mean, these 4 people in these bright coats, I mean, how can that not make you happy? So this map here on the right side, these are all the different thrift and vintage stores that I know about in Shoreline. I did a search, an internet search on them to see where they were, and then I added a couple that I knew about that I'd either driven by or been to. And so going there is just like a treasure hunt. You never know what you might find, and you're gonna get something unique, as opposed to showing up at an event and you end up having the same shirt on as somebody else, or the same dress on as somebody else, or, you know, common clothing that's available in stores. You're going to find something unique and different, one of a kind, and that's had a story, and you're going to give it a life, you know, beyond. So it's great to do that. It's a lot of fun. There's also a lot of online shopping you can do, thrifting. There's several different sites for those. None of those I've used personally yet, but I do know that they exist. So if anyone wants to type into the chat if they have some experience with online thrift stores and buying clothing secondhand online. Also thinking about clothing for all life stages. So I know when I was pregnant, I went shopping, and I didn't go to a maternity store initially. I wanted to see what clothing I could find out there that would work, that was clothing not necessarily designed as maternity, that had more of an empire style waistline, that would impact, you know, fit my expanding midsection, but that I would be able to wear afterwards. You can't do that with everything, but maybe a few pieces you could get that way. You know, drawstrings, I had a drawstring skirt that worked basically throughout my entire pregnancy, and I still have it now. And there are designers that work with, do designs that have clothing that has that flexibility, so that is something to look for too. So the clothing that you do have, you do want to take really good care of it. You want to wash it less than you really need to. Usually you can wear things depending on the weather and what you're doing. You can wear things a few times before washing them. You don't have to wash them after one wearing, especially if you're just relaxing in your home all day. You're really not out in the yard getting dirty or, you know, getting sweaty. You don't need to wash them that often. They will last longer. Also try not to put your clothes in a dryer. You know, use a clothesline. And they will last longer that way too. If you do use a dryer, use something called a wool dryer ball. That will help with the clothes drying faster, and those will work as well. And when you do have clothing, take care of them, cherish them. If they, develop a hole, find a way to creatively put a patch on it, or, take them someplace to have them mended or repaired. It's really, really important to find things that you like and take care of them. There's also a ton of things that you can learn to do to enhance the clothing that you already have. I was fortunate in that both of my grandmothers on my mom's side and my dad's side, they were both very creative women, very handy at doing different things. So I learned a lot from them in terms of how to sew and crochet and basically everything. I was doing this when I was growing up. And, these are perfect, wintertime hobbies that any of you want to pick up. There's tons of resources online to learn how to do, these different things to enhance your wardrobe, repair the clothing that you already have. Some point in the future, Heather does repair cafes where we do sewing type repairs, and those will be happening in person at some point in the future, I'm sure. So that's another option. King County also has repair cafes that will be happening again at some point in the future. So just in terms of buying, the one thing is that sometimes, you are going to be buying clothes and you're going to be buying new things. And before you buy something that's new, just really make sure it's not an impulse purchase and buying something that you're never going to wear, and then you're not going to know what to do with it, and it might end up in the landfill. So just stop and think, inventory what you have, determine, do you really need what you're thinking about buying? And then consider your options. If it is something you really need, is there another way that I can get this item? You could host a clothing swap. So think of STITCH. That is the acronym I came up with in terms of buying clothing. Top tips is use what you have if you can, shop secondhand when you can. You can't always find things, I often will look for something secondhand for a while. And if I still haven't find it, at some point I will, I'll give up and I'll buy it new, but I will take my time and I will buy something that I know will last a very long time. It's really important to buy quality. The more I have been learning about this is that the fashion industry is having a little bit of a reckoning right now. They had overproduced the amount of clothing, especially for spring and summer 2020, and people stopped buying. And so what do you do with all those clothes that nobody bought? And so that's been a big conundrum for the industry. And then also, we have to think about the people that make our clothing, and we want to employ people to make our clothing, to make quality clothing, doing well-paid jobs and supporting those industries of companies that are doing good things. So the last thing here on my top 10 list is to be informed. So all of you that have stayed until after 8 o'clock this evening to hear what Siobhan had to say and what I have to say, you're being part of the solution by learning more and learning that how you can do things to be better. I think that the impact that the clothing and textile industry has on our climate is not a well-known fact. It's, it's worse than air travel, which most people would be surprised. There are environmental impacts beyond climate change that I don't have time to go into detail tonight. There's a reason why I have this picture here on the right side. This is me here. I have this jacket is from a thrift store. The boots are from a thrift store. This skirt is something I've had a very long time. I don't wear it that often, but I do love it. And where we are is we're actually near Duvall, Washington, out here to the east of us here that live in the Shoreline area. And this is a former landfill. And we don't want clothing to end up in a landfill if at all possible. We want it to be worn and loved and cherished and have a good life, and then recycled at the end of life as possible to be made or used for something else. So October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So Ivana Trump and others that have way too many bras, maybe this is something that you can do with them. This is a picture from New Zealand. This is called the Cardrona Bra Fence. And there is a box there to support donations for the New Zealand Breast Cancer Foundation. I've heard from others that there are bra fences in other parts of the world in scenic locations. So maybe we could start one here somewhere here in the Pacific Northwest. So I think I finished about on time here, that we have just a little bit of time here for questions.